Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Cal, bringing you another video on the channel. Interestingly enough, as we get older, it seems as though we become more tied down. It seems as though we have more responsibilities, we have more things to do, and less time to focus on ourselves. And this presents a very interesting paradigm shift, right, of energy, right? So how we allocate our attention to things other than ourselves. And yes, this is not true for everyone, but to a certain extent, it is true. I was walking to class the other day, right? And I saw a mom and her son walking. And as they were walking, the son was just running around, just did not care, was running away from what her mom says. And her mom began to get mad at the son for not following her direction, right, where she was going. But the son was just running wherever he wanted. He was playing with the flowers, he was playing with the ground, he was looking at the air. He was just having a great time. But the mom was stuck in this fixed mindset where she had a goal of where she needed to be, and she was focused so much on that she took away from the kid's fun. She was like, okay, come on, enough of that, stop running around, come here. Which I understand, I totally get. You got somewhere to be, 100%. But it presents a really interesting difference between how we are as kids and how we are as adults. I was down at the front desk with my coworkers the other day, and just pretty much we were talking about, or I wasn't really talking about it, they were talking about like their 5-year high school anniversary or something like that, and how it's crazy how we've already been out of high school for 5 years, and how once, if you don't go for your master's after you get your bachelor's, you're in the real world. And I thought to myself, I was like, okay, yeah, you're in the real world, right? You gotta take care of yourself, you need to feed, get your basic needs met. But then I began to think, I'm like, is that the real world? To some people, yes, it is. But to me, it is not. To me, that is when you fully enter the matrix, right? When you are fully tied in, when you are fully dependent on the system, right? Because that system gives you money, and that money feeds your basic needs and everything else around you. It helps you become and develop as a human. There's nothing wrong with that. And it seems as though this is when we enter a prison-like state, at least in my mind. And unless you're doing something that you're passionate about, right, which I 100% back, do something you love. You want to do something 9 to 5 that you love? Absolutely. But it seems as though it is not the case for most people that is what they're doing. It seems as though, just like the mother, they have a fixed mindset of where they need to be, what they need to do, and how to get there. And they don't enjoy the process, and they hate it. Right? But they're constantly out of the moment. They're constantly complaining about how it should be. And even when it is how it should be, they don't care. And this is very interesting because if you tie this into the pandemic, people are like, I want to get back to normal. No masks, none of this shit, right? Which I totally understand. I totally get. I want to get back to normal. Which for some people is really relaxing. It relieves a lot of stress. Totally understand that. But for some people, when they get back to normal, right? Okay, it'll be cool for like, what, a week or two? Those problems that are unsolved will still be there, even when you were in the pandemic. And they're gonna start complaining just like they used to. Because complaining is a habit. Turning your perspective into a good perspective is also a habit. Being in the moment, being present is also a habit. Just like that kid who was running around, didn't give a shit about life. Because we always have an intention, we always have a reason to go somewhere, to do something. I remember reading a book by Eckhart Tolle when he said, you can still be present while knowing where you're going. And so this, in a sense, is like, okay, you can still be in the here and now while thinking about your future self somewhere else. So if I'm right here, I can, while walking to Dunkin' Donuts, I know where I'm going, but I'm still present. This to me is something that is very important, because if you look at how we develop, if you look at the conditioning from how we are as a young individual to how we develop into an adult, we become more tied down. We lose insight of what the real world is. The real world is not the system. That system is dependent on humanity in the sense that without humanity, that system would not exist, right? It's not an independent entity. Through this, we can see the objective reality, right? The one that's independent from the human mind. And a lot of times we get stuck within the individual reality of the matrix. And when we completely lose insight and understanding and recognition of the real world, such as nature, such as the natural flow of the universe, facts, the moment here and now, when we can vibrationally match, like energetically match to the neutrality around us, just like that kid experiencing euphoria, the peace of this moment, rather than the thoughts of our mind. We take our attention, which is the fuel to the flame, and we place it in the here and now, then we are in the real world. All that complaining, all that nonsense about all these hypothetical scenarios of how it should be, this imaginary world that you've made up in your head, that all falls away. Sure, you might do it sometimes to help you understand a future perspective or something. I do it. I'm human. But it's that difference between the mom and the son. And if you can see that, right, how the son is just relaxed, but the mom has an intention and is strict. If you can develop a balance between the two, maybe not always have an intention, maybe just go out into nature for no fucking reason. Don't be like, oh God, I need a reason to go out to the park, or I need a reason to go exercise. I mean, of course, yeah, that's a good way to get you motivated, but just go to go. Just be to be, man, because you are life itself. You are literally like a tree. You are like a cat. You have a developing lifespan cycle, right? You develop with your environment as well as your genetics over time, and then you begin to alter depending on your environment and your genetics, and then eventually this body form dies, even though energy cannot be destroyed nor created. Therefore, you live on. Maybe not in this form, but you will always be a part of this universe. And I think people forget we are actually in a fucking universe. We are a part of the universe. Like, we're in a universe right now, which is kind of crazy to think about. Just wanted to get that message across. Love yourself because I love you, baby. And yeah, peace, fuck,